Hello, and welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy, Not a Checklist, video discussion number 22 on the movie Down Periscope. Now, after the last video was on Ordinary Men, I promised something a little more lighthearted. Now, this is a movie that came out in the mid-90s, and I remember watching it and thinking it was pretty goofy and slapstick and silly, but there was something that I really enjoyed about it. And just recently found it on one of the streaming services on some ridiculous sale, and bought it and watched it and said, oh, well, now I know why I liked it so much. So we're going to go through the story, and you're going to wonder why is a comedy with Kelsey Grammer about this fictitious character on a leadership series. Well, they got the leadership part 100% correct. Unfortunately, I went to try to find the writers of the movie, and there was 3 people that wrote it together, and unfortunately 2 of them have passed away, and the third one can't figure out how to contact them at all, just because I wanted to know where the heck they got the inspiration for this character from. Anyway, like I said, it's a little goofier, it's a little funnier, more lighthearted. I enjoyed the movie, and so, like I said, keep my word as promised. So, as always, the archetypal leadership model. Remember, this is not mine. This is what has been done over time. And so I'm trying to break this, right? For people that are actual leaders, not people in charge. That's what the people in charge is. So my theory that still hasn't been tested is the personality traits that leaders have in the Big 5 personality series is openness to experience, high positive emotion, high intellect, assertiveness, industrious, right? They're all high in those things. Notice I didn't say extroversion. Again, I say that all the time. Then the talent is the ability to attune competence in environmental hierarchies in pursuit of a goal. Why attune? Well, you know that piano tuners can play the piano but aren't concert pianists, and I don't think there are any concert pianists that can tune a piano. So there's got to be a talent to allow you to take all those things and tune them. That's the leadership talent. Then we've got the 4 essential characteristics that all great leaders have had positive aspects of in their conduct of business. So that's humility, integrity, empathy, vigilance. You see it all over the place. And then, like I said, in the places, the people that were powerful leaders that had low integrity, you can still be a great leader, have the talent, and not have the character. And then there's the leader archetypes and the 4 archetypes. So this goes back to 2,700 years when the Tao Te Ching was written, but it was probably orally repeated thousands of years before that. So this is as old as you can get. 3 different examples of leadership archetypes, right? So there's the barely known, loved and praised, feared and despised. That's from the Tao Te Ching. So that's the correspondence. But then what makes those archetypes? Well, I think it's good character and the talent. You get the barely known one. Good character, no talent, you get somebody that's loved and praised, so they're not making things worse. Then you've got bad character plus talent, feared, because they can make you do stuff and make you do evil things. And then there's despised, which is bad character and no talent. Sorry, I always cover this up, so let's move this real quick. Mouse over here, bloop, see, despised. And they've all been the same, all right? So this is the standard. Like I said, in all cases, what we're doing is we're using this standard to apply to leaders to determine if they're an actual leader or a person in charge. And like I said, I'm trying to make this fall apart, and I haven't yet. But it's because nobody's, coming at me. All right, so first thing is, it's a hypothetical Navy thing. This admiral has this fear that we've become too technologically advanced. And so we need to go find some old technology to see if it can beat the new technology, which is interestingly what goes on in most insurgencies, right? We have all this electronic stuff. Well, in order to fight the American army, you just have to do nothing with electronics. And we're blind because we have forgotten how to do all the old school stuff. So anyway, he's got a nuclear navy, all this great equipment, and he wants to go get an old diesel-powered submarine and see if it can sneak in and simulated, do some attacks. The person that he picks is the guy played by Kelsey Grammer. And he basically is a little bit of a rough around the edges sort of guy that's always kind of made some silly decisions in his personal life. And so he gets picked for his first command to command this mission. Now, interesting. So Kelsey Grammer's character's name's Commander Dodge. He says, old equipment, it's impossible, it can't be done, but if I can get it done, do I get this reward? Because he wants to command a nuclear submarine. And then you can see already, even though he's been challenged and given all this impossible stuff, he starts thinking, I can get away with it. And so this guy's telling him to think like a pirate and, think outside the box, all that sort of stuff. Cool for the 90s. I just still think it's prescient that, for something that was written in the 90s or done in the 90s, it predicted what would happen in Iraq and Afghanistan, where we're fighting guys with AKs and walkie-talkies and, having a rough time because all of our technology only works great when we're fighting people with the same technology. So this is the submarine that he's given, completely rusted out, piece of junk. And then he has this other admiral that completely despises him, and he's all about systems and processes and looking proper. And so he handpicks the crew, and he picks all of, it's the land of misfit toys. It's the leper colony from the 12 o'clock high. He goes and picks all of the worst people and gives them to current Commander Dodge to go. So he's got old ship, messed up crew, has to make something happen. So this is just some examples. This isn't, this is obviously from the movie, but in this thing here, this is Commander Dodge. Then he gets the first female officer to come work on the boat, and she's specialized in doing, submerging the boat or doing dive stuff. And she basically scored it better than he did on any of his scores. And she's got some confidence problems, right? She's nervous because she doesn't think she can do stuff, whatever. That's anybody. This kid here is just a rebel. He's just a punk to be a punk, and he doesn't want to comply. He was forced to join the Navy by his dad, and he's trying to get thrown out, but he's trying to make people throw him out. He won't quit. So it's kind of like he's got honor and integrity. He just doesn't want to quit. And then this guy here is his XO, and he is the prototypical tyrant, screaming at everybody, yelling at everybody. The rules are the only thing that can happen. Nothing can be done differently. This guy is the communications officer, communications officer, and officer specialist, whatever the ranks are in the Navy. He's basically does everything trial and error, so he's always electrocuting himself and making all these mistakes, but the comms always work. He's always able to get stuff to happen. And then this guy here is a complete space cadet. He's trying to talk to whales and doing all this sort of stuff, and he's the sonar guy. But he can, one of the people on the other ship drops some money, and he hears it. That's how good he is, So it's all these crazy things, and he treats every one of them differently, right? He's trying to get them to the goal. This is Commander. He treats every one of them differently. Wants to get the goal, meets them where they are, deals with whatever their uniqueness is, which is what you should do, and then gets them to achieve the goal. And so they do all this unorthodox and crazy, impossible stuff. I mean, the movie's silly, right? But as you go through and watch it, it's just fun. So then they get to the end, they succeed, they achieve the mission barely. And the admiral from the very beginning comes up and says, okay, you're going to get the newest boat. You're going to get a Seawolf submarine, which was new in the 90s. You're going to get one of the brand new things, and we'll get you a state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line crew. And he says, nope, I don't. I want the crew that I had because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the way that my crew executed. So I want that ship, and I want this crew. Right? So it's great leadership, right? What would happen now? Oh, yeah. Screw the proles, right? Ever. All right. So synopsis of the story. There's no spoilers in there. Go watch the movie. It's funny. It's silly, And the thing that was neat about the 90s, well, I'll talk about that. Remind me. So lessons learned. excellent example of leadership, right? He attunes competence and environmental hierarchies in pursuit of the goal. These people are really good at their jobs. They've just got quirks. He's got a crazy old submarine. He gets them all together and goes after the goal. Great. Accepted the mission, like I said, didn't refuse it, that's what a leader does. Well, it's not the greatest thing, but it's a chance to have some people and do some stuff. So, actually, I said all that already. I'm sorry. Now, here's one thing that's funny, right? He always says several times when things seem to be as bleak as possible, he goes, oh my gosh, I love this job. So when he's got the crew that's a complete bunch of ragamuffins, he says, I love this job. And he's always positive. He's always, hey, we gotta accomplish the mission. We got to keep going. We got to do this thing. So it's neat. Said that already. Led each individual differently. We talked about that already too. So he had to, like the kid that was the big punk, he walked up to him and said, hey, you had this chance. I won't spoil the movie. You had this chance to give up the whole mission. And he said, hey, look, I'm out to I'm trying to get somebody to fire me. I'm not trying to mess other people up. So so now we know he's got honor. I mean, the first thing I thought was like, there's something you can work with there, because he doesn't really want to fail. He's trying to make somebody else fail him, this is my favorite thing about that. That's so much work. I'm going to think up a scheme to make you fire me instead of just doing your job. All right. I went through just grabbing everybody. And what's neat is that he ended up getting rid of the XO, because remember, we've talked about that, right? So the XO was completely by the book, completely rules driven, 100% inflexible. All he knew was screaming and yelling and tyrant. And his goal was to be the biggest admiral career guy he could possibly be. But he was completely toxic. Well, guess what? You get rid of the toxic person. Who cares if they're so competent and toxic to the point where he's interfering with other people's ability to get the work done, get rid of them. And then the dive officer, I think her name was Lieutenant Lake. She was just nervous because she's like, I've never done a boat like that. And he just kept pumping her up. It was good. I should probably talk about this and then write the script. Anyway, so he was focused on getting the rules being done, right? We've said it a million times. We've said it in all these places, all the great leaders. Here's the goal. We have to achieve the goal. The way we get there, as long as we're not breaking the laws, as long as nobody's getting killed, the way we get there, that's negotiable. But we're achieving the goal. Here's where we're going to get. 80% of the time when I said, here's what we're going to do, it was a little bit of my ideas and more of everybody else's ideas. But we still achieve the goal, which is, that's the way it should be, right? Oh, and one thing I did find kind of funny, because I after I did all this, I went, I should go watch some reviews, because I didn't, back then the internet was just out, so you didn't really watch or read reviews of stuff unless you watched Siskel and Ebert, and they probably wouldn't have reviewed this movie. But he's dealing with Lieutenant Lake, and I just thought this was a great example. So he's dealing with Lieutenant Lake, and the guys on the ship go do some stuff to make her uniform shrink, so it's too tight. Well, at the beginning, he walked in, said, here's Lieutenant, she's female, she's not going to be treated any different. And then they do all the stupid jokes where he says some stuff and guys are taking him as a double meaning. And so it's like, snark, snark, snark. But he says, this is unacceptable. This isn't going to change. She's going to be treated like anybody else. Well, then when they do the thing to her uniform, he says, all right, fess up to who did it, or we're canceling shore leave for the whole ship or for the whole boat. And the 3 or 4 people that did it didn't confess. He goes, all right, get back on the boat. So even though he wasn't delicate or he wasn't perfect when he was trying to say, we've got a woman on board and we're going to make sure that she gets treated the same, he kept his word. And so his actions were much more better than the things that he said. Like I said, it's a goofy comedy thing, whatever. But that's just another thing that I appreciated. Now, That's really the whole movie. But I still, I even tried to email Kelsey Grammer, but these people are all famous. But he responded, the environment changed, conditions changed. He changed his approach. Well, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this now. We're going to do this now. Because he had somebody that was trying to mess him up all the time. Anyway, so let's go through and look. Was he a leader? Yes. Okay. So openness to experience, took all those things on, high and positive emotion, high intellect, assertiveness, industrious. And then we already talked about the talent. Humility, when it came to the ship, right? He gave the crew credit. He had integrity, kept his word. Empathy, he knew what it was like to be messy. And then he was always checking on stuff. You see him all the time checking things. So was he a leader? Yep. Was he loved and praised? Not really, but he was respected and trusted. Barely known. I mean, the barely known one is really, that's an organization where things have been going for a while, in my opinion, because you don't start off with a brand new leader and a brand new team and a brand new everything, and the leader's not known. But they start doing things and getting in the background. So, yeah, he wasn't feared. He wasn't despised. I mean, it wasn't 100%. A couple of people didn't like him, but he got rid of one of them. So good character and the talent. So there's the thing, right? And this was in a fictional thing. Now, you say, oh, it was fiction. No, we've seen it. We've shown all the examples of people that were like this in real life. So, down Periscope, 1996. There you go. I kept saying mid-90s. Fun movie. But once again, something a little lighthearted. Things are a little crazy right now. Go watch a fun movie and enjoy it. But just, again, now that we've got that archetypal leadership model, you can take it and hold it against people in charge and see. A leader, person in charge. Tyrant, good leader. Which one? That's all that I have for today. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.